be a part of the Dell Social Innovation Challenge. So, real quick, I'll just give you a little background of how I got involved in this. 7 years ago, I was on vacation in Argentina. I met some women that were doing volunteer work. They were specifically doing something they called a shoe drive. And what that meant was they were going around collecting slightly used shoes to give to children in a neighboring village that were not allowed to go to school because they didn't have shoes. Now, I grew up in Arlington, Texas, and never had to worry about shoes or food or clothing or any of these bare necessities. And it just blew my mind when I heard that there were children that literally were being denied their education because the uniform required a pair of black school shoes that they could not afford. And that these women were spending their vacation going around collecting these shoes from wealthy families in Buenos Aires and giving them to these kids and making such a difference in their life. Now, I didn't grow up in a family that did a lot of philanthropy or charity. I really had no experience at this stage of my life, but I had started 4 other companies at this point. Now, this is 7 years ago. So I go with them this day, and I see them distributing these shoes, and the absolute joy these kids had when they got these shoes, and their families had. And it was absolutely contagious, and I wanted to do more, and I left the village that day kind of vowing to myself that I would do more. But the problem was I didn't have any experience in charity or philanthropy. All my experience was in entrepreneurship. So I sat there the next morning and tried to think how I could help these kids. And that's when I had kind of my, I guess you could say, big idea. And that was, instead of starting another charity that would donate money so that shoes could be bought, or donate shoes so that they could be given, let's start a for-profit business with a very cool shoe that I discovered in Argentina. And every time we sold a pair of shoes, we would give a pair away, 1 for 1. Now, a lot of people say, 1 for 1 is this great idea, Blake. The truth is, I'm not very good at math. That was the easiest way to keep track of it. I sell a pair, I give a pair. Can't mess that up very bad. So, 7 years ago. So now, cut to, what has happened since then. We've given millions of children shoes, some of them for the very first time, helping them go to school, prevent diseases like podoconiosis or hookworm, or sometimes now our shoes are used as incentive programs for families to get vaccinated for different diseases. We've now launched an eyewear program where every time we sell a pair of sunglasses, we give prescription glasses or sight-saving surgeries, such as cataract surgeries. And our 1 for 1 model is continuing to evolve. And as I thought about getting to speak to all these amazing social entrepreneurs and their projects, not only here in the room that's being streamed all over the internet, is I want to just take a moment to say, giving in itself is one of the most gratifying experiences of my life. For everyone in the room that has experienced the joy of giving their time and their resources knows that. But one of the lessons that I've learned since starting TOMS is that giving doesn't just feel good, it's actually really good for business. And I think that that's one of the things that we're celebrating tonight is you can incorporate giving and doing well for the world and for the planet into your business. And that's not necessarily an expense, but actually can be a driving factor in building your business. And I could talk all night long, but I only have a few minutes too. So I'm going to leave you with one story. I think the very first thing you try to do as an entrepreneur is get customers. I love the story of hearing about your first customers and how you've sold 750 products, and that's extremely exciting. I mean, that moment when you get those customers. But it's also one of the most expensive things, advertising, marketing. These things cost a lot of money. And so when you're starting something, it's very hard to get those first customers and have that marketing. So about 4 months after I started TOMS, I was in the JFK airport. And I was getting ready to get on an American Airlines flight to fly back from New York to Los Angeles where I was living. And at this point, after 4 months of out there just schlepping and begging people to buy our shoes, I had never seen an actual customer wearing our shoes. I'd seen my friends and interns and family, but never someone that was a complete stranger. So this particular day, I was getting ready to do the check-in, and I looked over to my right, and there's this woman in her mid-30s, and she was wearing a red pair of TOMS. Now this was extremely exciting to me, and as many of you with your projects are thinking, like the first time you see someone actually using the creation you have, is this just gratifying, electrical experience. And so I turn to this woman and I'm trying to hold in my excitement, and I say, excuse me, ma'am, I just couldn't help but noticing these red shoes you're wearing. They're amazing. What are they? and she looks at me and kind of eyes wide, and she says, they're TOMS shoes. Now, I'm trying to play it cool, right? So I'm doing the check-in at the kiosk, like, oh, that's great. And I'm not kidding, she literally grabs my shoulder, pulls me away from the machine, and says, no, you don't understand. These are the most amazing shoes in the world. When I bought this pair of shoes, there's this guy, and he went to Argentina, and he gave a child a pair of shoes. And this guy lives in Los Angeles. I think he lives on a sailboat. And I'm not kidding. She started telling me my life story, word for word. Now, okay, at this point, I have to tell her who I am, right? So I say, excuse me, ma'am, I'm Blake. I started TOMS. And at that moment, she looks at me like deer in headlights. And she goes, why did you cut your hair? That was her one question. But the honest to God truth is I learned more about business and entrepreneurship and definitely marketing in that one question than anything else. And what I realized is that she was so passionate about what we were doing, not because what we were selling, not because of the shoes, but because what we were doing on the giving side, that she would take the time to stop a stranger in the airport to tell the story. So if she had stopped a stranger in the airport to tell the story, how many other people had she told? How many times has she posted on Facebook or Twitter or given TOMS to someone for a holiday gift? And I remember giving her a hug and saying thank you and getting on my long flight back to LA and just thinking like, that's what we have to do. If we keep focusing on giving and sharing that story, we don't need to spend money on advertising and marketing because our customers are going to do it for us. And I think that's exactly what links all the projects that I've looked at since getting involved with the Dell Social Innovation Challenge, is that every single project has something that you want to go and tell your friends about. And that's the greatest marketing that any of you could ever create. And I just applaud everyone and everyone online for that. Let's give them a round of applause. So 2 years ago, I decided to write a book. And I can honestly say that writing a book was much more difficult than starting the company. So anyone who has aspirations of that, think twice. It consumed a year of my life. Luckily, actually, the person I sold the book to, Random House, gave me this deadline and basically said, if you don't finish this book by Labor Day, we're asking for the advance money back. And I was really behind, and so I went to Montauk, New York, and thankfully I did, because that's where I met my lovely wife, sitting here in the front row. So, had I not written this book, I might not be married to this wonderful woman. But, other than that, writing the book was not a lot of fun. But another good reason, and thankful that I wrote the book, was I committed with the book. The book is about social entrepreneurship. It talks about a lot of social entrepreneurs that I met along the way, a lot of the lessons that I've learned, trying to really open up why I think TOMS has had the success that it's had, or why Lauren Bush, the Feed Projects, or Scott Harrison with Charity Water have been able to resonate with people. So I hope that that book has helped people continue to dream and to create organizations. But the other thing that I really wanted to do in the book is to take all the proceeds of the book, 100% of the proceeds, and give it back to social entrepreneurs, to people who are just getting started. I started my first business when I was a sophomore year in college with $1,200. I started TOMS with less than $5,000. A little bit of money can go a long way with someone with a big idea, and I recognize that. And so I wanted to use the proceeds of the book to do that. So I started this foundation called Start Something That Matters, after the name of the book. And then I thought, okay, how am I going to find the most amazing social entrepreneurs to give this money to? And that's when I met Susie and the Dell Social Innovation Challenge. And because of my partnership with them, we've been able to fund 21 groups and help them start realizing their dream. I think that, are we going to show the groups up here or not? Maybe? I don't know. Yes. So many of them are watching on the webcast right now, so they don't know that they've won. So if they see their name up there, they're going to be extremely excited that we funded their projects. But there's 21 of them, and I'm proud of all of them. I mean, there's incredibly diversity. I mean, in Brazil, there's an organization that's created a total new platform for helping coordinate volunteerism in their city. In New York, there's a girl that recognized that after it rains, all these people leave discarded umbrellas all over the streets. And so she went in downtown and collected all these umbrellas and now has to deal with the city. She takes the fabric from the umbrellas, makes amazing reusable bags, sells the bags, and then gives the money back to funding water projects in places that don't have clean drinking water. I mean, the innovation is absolutely amazing with all the different applicants and the 21 that won. So I'm so proud of them. I hope that they're getting to see their name and they're celebrating online all over the world. I think we funded projects in over 13 different countries. And I'm really thankful for the Dell Social Innovation Challenge for allowing me to use this platform to reach such amazing entrepreneurs. And thank you for letting me share my story.